Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Long, so there are strong bipartisan majorities in Congress have passed laws to make it illegal for political officials to interfere in tax administration. Senator Warren asked you a pretty easy question, which was, is the president prohibited by law from interfering with the tax collecting work of the IRS? And it was difficult for you to say that was clearly the case. So let me just take this a little bit further here. As commissioner of the IRS, what would be your legal obligation if, for example, the president or vice president or some member of their staff were to tell you, either directly or indirectly, to investigate a foundation for the purposes of revoking their tax-exempt status? What would be your legal obligation if they did direct you?
I think that it would be to report to the IG.
So I'm glad to hear you say that. Any officer or employee of the Internal Revenue Service who's received any request prohibited by this should report that. And would you do that if that were to be the case?
I would follow the law, and if that's what the law is, I just said I'd turn it over to the IG, yes.
So you would follow through and you would report that?
Yes, yeah. Okay. I mean, well, favoritism has gone on. If you go back and look at the short history, Republican, Democrat presidents over a very long period have played politics with the IRS, and it's not going to happen on my watch. It can't happen. I don't want it to happen. It's not right with anybody.
And here we have a president who has specifically said when he doesn't like the grant-making activities of foundations, for example, that he questions whether their tax-exempt status should be revoked. So I suspect, Mr. Long, if you become commissioner, this is going to be on your plate on the very first day. And it's important for me to understand that you're going to follow through and that you will follow the law here. And I just have to raise that a while ago, you did push for an investigation into a nonprofit. This was in the situation of the Missouri ballot referendum that you disagreed with. You pushed for an investigation into this nonprofit, which looks to me like political interference in tax processes, which gives me a lot of concern. Now, I want to follow up, if I may, on this question of the tribal tax credits. You know, there is a long history of unscrupulous promoters trying to make a buck by taking advantage of people who are just looking to find a little extra money, boost their retirement, or have a little more money for the good things in life. And I know you're familiar with this. My colleagues have asked you about this before, these tribal tax credits. I just want to understand clearly. Can you say clearly that these tribal tax credits were real or were they fake?
I had no indication that they were anything but real, and like I said, the onus was put on their professional people to look at these. I didn't. It was only a few friends that I referred them to, and I said, "You need to get on it if you're interested. If you're not interested, fine." I didn't go out, you know. Anyway, and I'd say get your CPA, your CFO, lawyer, whoever you want on the and look at them and see the certificates that are coming over Treasury and see if they are.
But today, I mean today, knowing what you know.
I tried to find out who at the IRS from the staff the other day said that, and they just like, oh, we can't tell you. And I'm like,
well, but the IRS has said clearly that these tax credits do not exist. So could you say today that, yeah, that was a miss? That was a
who? I haven't heard that from anyone with the IRS directly. And when I'm trying to find out who, there's a lot of people that work at the IRS.
Well, if I were to provide this to you, would you then say, boy, this was a big mistake? We shouldn't have been marketing these tax credits. I mean, this is information that we've gotten from the committee, from the IRS.
It was even
Are you
before
disputing that?
It was even before the article came out. Back in, what was it, December, a few weeks after I got nominated. I haven't, you know.
So if you
I wanted to see how it came out in the wash and see what happened and see what the investigation. Well, I didn't mention them to one person after that, trying to say, hey, you ought to, because at that point, you know.
So the IRS has said that these tax credits do not exist.
Who at the IRS?
They have said this. And if you were to become the commissioner of the IRS, then would you take action on this? I mean, you have a kind of a blatant conflict of interest here, having received payment for marketing these. Would you pursue this as commissioner?
I plan to do everything that the career professionals at OGE that I signed with them would permit. I mean, anybody that has tried to do anything illegal or whatever needs to be investigated, but with my ethics agreement, I'm not sure what my involvement could be or would be, but it will be whatever it can be. I don't want that going on. I don't want anything. I mean, who would come up? This was a publicly traded company that had it on their SEC that they had these credits. So, I mean, once I can have somebody at the IRS say, here, I'm the guy at the IRS, I mean, excuse me, not the IRS, but the Treasury that comes out and says that. Are you saying, well, I guess you said the IRS said that, right?
So that's a lot of words. And I think the thing that I'm concerned about is that you appear to have a conflict of interest here. You've received payment for marketing these tax credits, which the IRS itself says do not exist. I think this is a big problem. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The OGE, whatever that they think is proper in that instance, I will do. I'm not trying to.
Senator Tillis.
Okay.